Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Kimberly Johnson, affectionately known as Dr. Kim. Welcome to another video, and in this video I'll be looking at hyperpigmentation, and this topic is one of the most popular ones when I did that Twitter poll on my personal page to see what it was that people had issues with when it comes to their skincare. And hyperpigmentation is one of the most stubborn issues that we have to deal with when it comes to skincare. Just a reminder that these series of videos that I'm doing is to help persons to get their skin to the best level that they can. Guys, it's just to help. It really is just to help, because I have struggled and I really wish I had somebody to tell me what to do, what not to do, because I went through dermatologists, dozens of skincare products, and what I found is that majority of the products many years ago really were created for Caucasian skin. Most of the ingredients were actually irritating to skin of color. So we're going to be looking at hyperpigmentation, and it's quite a bit of information, but it's so important. So please, you might need pen and paper, but it will definitely be worth the watch. So if you like it, please stick around, and remember to watch the last video on acne, because that will be so important in moving forward to this video. So stay tuned. When it comes to treatment of hyperpigmentation, we must start from the basics. We talk a lot about melanin, but let's get to where that all comes from. Melanin is produced from melanocytes, and these are the cells that produce melanin. How is this formed? We must understand the pathway, and understanding the pathway will give us a better idea of why we use certain products to treat hyperpigmentation. So the melanocytes, they produce melanin via this pathway. You may want to pay close attention. So tyrosine is converted to L-DOPA, and L-DOPA is converted to melanin. However, in the conversion of tyrosine to L-DOPA, there is an enzyme called tyrosinase that facilitates the conversion of tyrosine to L-DOPA. However, if we can inhibit the activity of this enzyme tyrosinase, then there will be no conversion or little conversion of tyrosine to L-DOPA, and therefore L-DOPA to melanin. So then the inhibition of tyrosinase will therefore decrease the production of melanin. Hence, we use products called tyrosinase inhibitors in the treatment of hyperpigmentation. Now, in persons with skin of color, the melanocytes, which are the cells that produce and have pigment, are larger, very large, and they're more easily triggered. So any irritation will lead to inflammation, and inflammation will lead to hyperpigmentation. So melanocytes are triggered by irritation and then inflammation. So we want to prevent irritation, which will lead to inflammation, so there's no triggering of the melanocytes and therefore producing more melanin and causing hyperpigmentation. There's this belief that Caucasians do not have melanocytes and so they don't produce melanin. That's not true. It's just that in Caucasian persons, their melanocytes are way smaller and less easily triggered. It's the opposite for us in persons with skin of color. We are so easily irritated, and the simplest irritation to our skin, then our melanocytes are triggered because they're so large. So when it comes to people with skin of color, we have to try to limit things that will cause irritation. Irritation can come from the environment, so sun, UV exposure, the elements, chemicals, even the same skincare products that we're using. If certain ingredients are in very high percentages, it can cause irritation to our skin. Physical exfoliants, any reaction to food, anything that will irritate the skin, that will cause inflammation, will lead to hyperpigmentation because our melanocytes will be triggered. When our melanocytes produce melanin, then the melanin is going to be packaged. So they'll be in little packages called melanosomes. And the melanosomes now will be taken to the surface of the skin in keratinocytes. This process of taking it to the surface of the skin is about 30 days. And so the pigment then will be taken to the surface of the skin by the keratinocytes, and the pigment, the melanin now, will be deposited on the surface of the skin, and then you'll see the hyperpigmentation. So for instance, when you do a chemical peel, you go to a med spa, you do a chemical peel, what will happen is the top layer of skin will be removed when you do the chemical peel, and with that goes the pigment or the melanin deposits. So yes, your hyperpigmentation will go away. You say, yeah, I have clear skin, I just got a chemical peel. But then you see over time it comes back, and then you go and you say, hey, you know, you blame the spa or you blame the esthetician, or you say your treatment didn't work, my hyperpigmentation is back. And that's because you don't understand the process of hyperpigmentation, because unless you are using tyrosinase inhibitors to calm those melanocytes or inhibit or prevent the production of more melanin, then in 30 days, keratinocytes are taking more melanin to the surface of the skin, and you're going to have melanin deposits at the surface and more hyperpigmentation. So it would be in your interest to understand what really is happening in the process of hyperpigmentation, or the persons who are giving you this chemical peel to probably explain that this is just a temporary fix. You may need other treatments or other products. Now that we've understood what happened in the process of hyperpigmentation, one, there's irritation, and the irritation triggers our melanocytes, and it will continue the triggering of our melanocytes, and we just keep producing melanin. There's inflammation and the hyperpigmentation. So we have to try and calm those melanocytes down so that they'll stop this overproduction of melanin. Now, firstly, we have to stop that irritation. And as I said, the biggest thing when it comes to hyperpigmentation is the irritation. And the most common form of irritation is the sun. We're in the sun every day, so we must be wearing sunscreen. Sunscreen. Wear sunscreen. I know so many persons do not want to hear, oh, we have melanin, we don't need sunscreen. No, quite frankly, melanin only gives you SPF 15. You need more than that, honey. So you need SPF of 50, broad spectrum UVA and UVB protection, mineral sunscreen, not chemical. And I'll do a video on sunscreen. 2, I'm going to talk about some of the tyrosinase inhibitors that are most commonly used in the treatment of hyperpigmentation. So when you go to buy products, you can look at the back at the ingredients, or even in the front, and say, hey, I know what I need to get for my hyperpigmentation. Nobody can trick me. All right, so vitamin C is one of the most common ones. Vitamin C is a tyrosinase inhibitor, but it is also going to be mentioned when we talk about anti-aging skincare, because it is also an antioxidant, and in the form ascorbic acid, or as L-ascorbic acid, L-ascorbic acid, which is what we'll most commonly hear it referred to as. It is an exfoliant. But I'll do a separate video after this on vitamin C, because there's so much to dissect about vitamin C and how it is being used possibly incorrectly. because the derivatives of vitamin C are better to use and less irritating to the skin. But I'll do a next video on that so we can talk about that. Niacinamide is another tyrosinase inhibitor, which is, we hear about it all the time because it is widely used in a variety of skincare areas. We'll talk about it in anti-aging skincare because it also increases cell turnover. And we spoke about it in acne treatment. You'll hear about it when you talk about oil-free skincare. And I use it at 10% and at 5%. Initially, I had started using it at 10% from the ordinary, but it was very irritating. And I will say it may be irritating at 10%. So I'd say start at 5%. So I had to switch to 5%. However, as my skin barrier got healthier and was less damaged, I would use at 10% and it was not irritating at all. But I would say for the safer option, stick to 5%. Alpha arbutin, if I'm looking over there, it's because the products are there. And don't mind, there's just a guy down here. It's called premenstrual. And I'll do a video on that. I haven't forgotten. But alpha arbutin is another good tyrosinase inhibitor. Again, this is from the ordinary. It doesn't make sense for me to show it because the camera is flipped. Alpha arbutin, and that's at 2%, is another good tyrosinase inhibitor, and it can be used in the daytime. It's stable enough to use in the daytime and not irritating. Another one is kojic acid. Kojic acid may be irritating in that form, and it's very unstable in that form. So I would say it's best to use kojic dipalmitate, which is less irritating and more stable. Another good one is azelaic acid, which is very good also for red marks, and it is considered a gentle exfoliant as well. And licorice root extract is another one. Dioic acid is another. Mulberry acid is another one, and it is also considered an antioxidant. For those who are medics, tranexamic acid is also a tyrosinase inhibitor. For those who know, you know. And I'll also mention vitamin A. While it is a tyrosinase inhibitor, retinoids are a part of treatment for hyperpigmentation. So it would be sunscreen, tyrosinase inhibitors, retinoids. Another very popular tyrosinase inhibitor I want to talk about is hydroquinone. It is a tyrosinase inhibitor, a very powerful one at that, but it is very irritating, and usually you have to stop using it after 3 months. The thing with hydroquinone is that it works wonderfully, perfectly. The problem is it does cause a rebound pigmentation that is actually worse than the initial hyperpigmentation that you had. For instance, if you have an area of pigmentation, say some pigmentation here, and you use hydroquinone, then you stop using it, you will actually get a rebound hyperpigmentation that's actually worse than it was before, and it can actually go beyond the boundary that it was. So if it was here, when it comes back, it's extending even further than it was before. So that is the issue with hydroquinone. It's very irritating. It causes rebound hyperpigmentation that can extend to other places or beyond the boundary that it was initially. So yeah, I wouldn't be using that one, but it works wonders. It's really, really good. It's just the effects are just not favorable. So we stay away from that one because there are other better options. In using tyrosinase inhibitors or buying products with high tyrosinase inhibitors, it's best to buy a serum or cream with multiple tyrosinase inhibitors, or be using multiple tyrosinase inhibitors at once to combat or treat hyperpigmentation. It works better and faster that way. So for me, in my nighttime routine for hyperpigmentation, I use upwards of 7 tyrosinase inhibitors. Serum with like 5, and I use another serum. You have 7 being used at once or working at once. It's best to use it that way. It may be difficult to find one item with many, but as I said, the skincare market is improving and it's becoming better each time. So you are finding products like that. I know, for instance, Dr. V Skincare it's a skincare line in the UK. It's very difficult to get in Jamaica here because of the shipping costs. So you might have to get someone to take it in. But her line her hyperpigmentation kit has 10 tyrosinase inhibitors in one product. So things like that make sense. It may be costly, but it makes sense. So using one tyrosinase inhibitor is a waste of time. It's not going to work. It doesn't make sense. And so when you see people marketing, oh look, it's a vitamin C serum that will get rid of hyperpigmentation, it's a scam. It doesn't make sense. Don't fall for it. So it's best to use multiple tyrosinase inhibitors or get a serum or a product that has multiple, I would say upwards of 5 at least, that will give you visible, quick effects. I see results within 4 to 6 weeks of using my routine, and I do my hyperpigmentation routine 4 nights per week. And within 4 to 6 weeks, I saw visible, obvious effects. I'll give one example of a product that has 4 tyrosinase inhibitors. It's a good start and it's reasonably priced, and the other ingredients are safe for your skin without causing other irritation to the skin. It's called Touch Bright and Clear Cream, and it has azelaic acid, niacinamide, kojic acid. Would have preferred kojic dipalmitate, and it has tranexamic acid. So this is a good one, and you can get, for instance, alpha arbutin. So you could say, if you want to do your simple routine, you get this and alpha arbutin from The Ordinary, and that's a simple routine for hyperpigmentation. Another option is faded topicals. Oh, a family friend told me about this one and it's so good. Faded topicals has niacinamide, tranexamic acid, alpha arbutin, azelaic acid, kojic dipalmitate, licorice root extract. So that's 6 tyrosinase inhibitors. It's a cream. 6 tyrosinase inhibitors. That's excellent. It also has Centella asiatica, which is an antioxidant, and it's good for calming the skin, and it's good for restoring the skin barrier. It has jojoba oil, it has zinc, it has allantoin, which is also good for calming and soothing the skin, and it's good for wound healing, so that would also be good for people with acne skin. It has phytic acid, which is a mild AHA. So this is a good, it's such a good product. So that's giving you mild exfoliation as well, and that's at 2%. It has squalene. Squalene is very good for it's an anti-inflammatory and it's moisturizing. It has turmeric, which is an antioxidant and is anti-inflammatory. It has melatonin, which is antioxidant. It has bisabolol, which is calming to the skin and anti-inflammatory. And it also has arginine, which is good for anti-aging and firming of the skin. And there are other, ingredients in it, but those are just some of the main ones I want to highlight. So this is faded topicals, and this is all in one cream. So you could use this. The only thing it doesn't have, which I'd want to add, is vitamin C, a vitamin C derivative. So you could get that cream and throw in this vitamin C serum from The Ordinary, and that would be it for your hyperpigmentation routine, because you're getting 6 tyrosinase inhibitors, you're getting anti-inflammatory and antioxidant ingredient, you're getting a mild exfoliant as well, and you're getting anti-aging components in it. It's a one-stop shop. So when I heard about this, I was like, yep, it's perfect, and I recommend it for other clients and other friends as well. So I'll place it here for you guys. It's really good. So that's how you approach hyperpigmentation. Not buying a serum with just one tyrosinase inhibitor. That won't work. So get a combination. And I would say not to go buy multiple things from The Ordinary and pour them in one bottle. That's not recommended. It's best to buy a serum or a cream that's already formulated with all the different ingredients, because it's formulated specifically a specific way. You going to pour them all together may cause reactions that you don't want. And also, if you're going to be layering products, it's best to wait at least a minute in between applying the different ingredients. But again, I'll do another video about how to layer products and which ones to put first based on the formulation of the product or the serum. The next step in hyperpigmentation treatment is exfoliation, and this has to be done properly. Now, I will do a separate video on exfoliation. However, I'll speak briefly on it here. Exfoliation, if not done properly, can lead to more hyperpigmentation, because, as we said, irritation to the skin can trigger the melanocytes and lead to hyperpigmentation. Now, we tend to hear that exfoliation means you must use a scrub or a spin brush, and what these things, it's called physical exfoliation. Now, there's physical and chemical exfoliation. I would say, especially if you're doing this from home, go with the safer alternative, which is chemical exfoliation, and this will be covered in that video. Physical exfoliation, what it may do when you use these harsh scrubs or brushes, they may cause micro tears in the skin, and the micro tears in the skin will lead to irritation, inflammation, and then even more hyperpigmentation. So you're trying to prevent hyperpigmentation and in the process causing more hyperpigmentation. So it's safer to use chemical exfoliation. And just briefly, chemical exfoliation will include using your AHAs, your BHAs, and the newer ones, your PHAs. There are other forms, there are enzymes, but I will talk about those in that video and tell you about the recommendations, the safer recommendations for skin of color to prevent irritation, inflammation, and then hyperpigmentation. So options would include your lactic acid, 5 to 10%, mandelic acid, I would say 5 to 10% as well to prevent irritation, salicylic acid, and we'll talk more about that later on. Let's do a recap. The first step in treating hyperpigmentation is understanding that irritation will lead to inflammation, and inflammation leads to hyperpigmentation. We want to ensure that we're using our sunscreen to prevent the most common form of irritation, which is UV from sun exposure. So mineral SPF 50 is the first step. We can incorporate multiple forms of tyrosinase inhibitors in our skincare routine. We must implement exfoliation in our routine at a maximum of 2 times per week, no more than 2 times per week, and preferably using chemical exfoliants. Remember your retinoids or vitamin A, which are important for increasing cell turnover. It's important to note that not all of these products mentioned are safe for pregnancy. So as we move along, I'll be doing specific skincare routines or hyperpigmentation routines for persons with dry skin, persons who are pregnant or nursing. So we'll get into details where I give specific products and recommendations, a full-on routine for you guys. So thank you for staying to the end of the video. Stay tuned for what's coming next.